Okay, let's do Algebra 2 review, problem 42 and 43. So in this one here, notice they just gave us a word problem. So the first thing I want to make sure you must do this, is draw a sketch again. It doesn't have to be perfect. And of course, I'm just going to label it PQR. Again, doesn't matter which one I call PQR. The picture doesn't have to be perfect. You just have something that you can look at. And they're telling me that little p is 7. Now remember, little p is always opposite angle p. So 7's down here. Little q is 9. So 9 is here. And angle R is 55 degrees. So as you can see, I have this side, this angle in between another side. And they're asking me to find angle Q over here. So the key thing, guys, is I could try the law of sines, but it's not going to work out. So what I'm going to do is the law of cosines, and I'm going to call this missing side x, because I know once I find x, now I can find q, most likely by using the law of sines. Okay? And if you're still a little confused why I'm doing the law of cosines, if I misspoke, I am doing the law of cosines. Whenever you have a side, angle, and then a side, okay, you're going to do law of cosines, most likely. Okay, you definitely can't do the law of sines. But anyways, I'm going to call the 9 here my A, the 7 my B, this X is my C. Remember, the C must be opposite with the given angle here. And the angle must be between the A and B. So now I'm going to use the law of cosines. I know that if I take c squared, which is x squared, that's got to equal a squared, 9 squared, plus b squared, which is 7 squared, minus 2 times the a times the b times the cosine, and the angle theta is 55 degrees. And I'm going to go to my calculator and carefully type this in. And let's see what x squared equals. So if we look here, I typed it all in carefully. I got 57.7. Now I'm going to take the square root, because this right here is x squared. So I know that x, well, let's just go one step at a time. So I know x squared equals 57.7. And then when I take the square root, x is going to be 7.6. 7.6. Now what? Well, now we know that this side is 7.6. Now we should be able to find Q. Okay, guys, I just changed screens and rewrote the problem. And our goal again now is we can finally find Q here, because notice how Q is opposite with the 9. So that's one pair. And notice how our 55 has its opposite now of 7.6. So that's how you know you can do the law of sines, whenever you can get two pairs matched up like that. And remember, you always match up an angle with its opposite side. That being said, I know that the sine of 55 degrees goes with 7.6. That's the purple there. And that's going to equal the sine of our missing Q that goes with 9. And from here, I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to do 9 times the sine of 55. So 9 times the sine of 55 is 7.37. So we know that 7.37 equals 7.6 times the sine of Q. Now I can find the Q now by dividing sine of Q, that is, by 7.6. And if you look right here, I took this, I divided by 7.6, 0.97. So we now know that the sine of Q is 0.97. So the grand finale now is we're going to do sine inverse on each side. And that's going to give me Q. So Q is going to be the sine inverse of 0.97. And the sine inverse of this 0.97 is 75.9. So therefore, we know, rounding it off, the answer is C. So again, the sine inverse is 75.9, which is approximately 76, which was answer C. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to 43. Notice this time, thankfully, they gave us a picture. Remember, when the picture's not there, guys, you got to draw it. So we have our triangle drawn, and we want to find the length of the altitude drawn from angle F to the opposite side. So here's angle F. I'm going to draw my altitude down to the opposite side there. And what I'm going to do is actually do a re-sketch of that little triangle. So here's my height altitude I just drew down from point F. Here's point E. This is, as we're told, is 55 degrees, as shown right there. And of course, this right here is 5. So we can find the height quite easily because notice how the height is opposite of the 55, and the 5 here is my hypotenuse. And we better know some old hippie caught another hippie tripping over apples, because now we know SOHCAHTOA is telling us that opposite hypotenuse is sine. So I now know that the sine of 55 degrees is the opposite, or height h, over the hypotenuse 5. So I'm going to do the sine of 55 on the calculator. I'm going to times by 5, and I'm going to get my height. So the sine of 55, 0.819. I'm going to times by 5, 4.095. But notice I'm just leaving it in the calculator. Now what? Now that I know the height is basically 4.1 here, how do I find the area of the triangle? Because that's what they want us to do here, round to the nearest tenth. Well, the area of any triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. So I'm just going to do 1/2 times 16 times 4.1. And if I do 1/2 times the base 16 times our 4.1 here, I get 32.766. But remember, we're going to round that off to 32.8. And so we know the height was what? 4.1 basically. And now we know the area was 32.8. So that was a little bit longer video than most of my videos, so I apologize. But those problems took a little bit more work, of course. Hopefully now you understand problem 42 and 43.